writers and authors. I'm doing this video despite myself because the team suggested that the excitement and momentum is too high right now, that it doesn't matter what your hair looks like and it doesn't matter that you have a nasally cold voice today, to get on this and start talking about what's happening with the planning of the Vancouver International Publishing Conference. So here I am and want to share a few of the behind the scenes things that we're getting really excited about, to share a few details about our decisions and what has come as a result of those. To back us up, the Vancouver International Publishing Conference was born last year in 2025 as an observation that there are a lot of literary conferences out there. And while I've been at them as both an author, I've been both there as an attendant, and I've also been there as a panelist on these one-off publishing sections or workshops that these literary conferences have. And I have noticed that the publishing portions of these conferences always get really well attended because there's so many questions around publishing. So instead of doing another literary conference, we decided that wouldn't it be great if we could just inverse it, where this is a publishing conference with a few pieces of information coming from authors. So instead of having the publishers kind of be the one-offs, this is the theme of the conference. And when we are interviewing panelists and we're setting the precedent, the goal must be that they are open to all forms of publishing. They're open to being honest about what's actually happening, and they are willing to talk at a minutia or granular level about publishing. We don't want any of this, I know it's trendy to say toxic positivity. We want people to leave this conference having a real grasp on what is possible and the options and opportunities, without feeling like there's no hope for them, and also feeling like, oh, that was airy-fairy, but I don't really still know what I'm going to do. So the idea is that this conference is meant for writers, people who have already published and are looking to get new sources of education, access, and interest in their books, and also obviously the publishing industry. So that is the background to the conference, and I'd love to share with you some of the decisions that we've made in the first three panels today, and then next week I'll get into the others because we still have a few people we're waiting to share publicly about. Excuse me. All right, let's get into it. Our first panel is publishing trends for 2026. The whole goal of this panel is to make sure that we had representation from all sides of all sizes of the industry. So our goal is to have somebody from one of the big five, somebody who's from a mid-sized publisher, and somebody's from an indie press, and of course somebody from self-publishing. So this year, from the big five, we've got Robert. He's the vice president of Random House Canada, and he's also the publisher of Appetite by Random House. And so, he's a heavy hitter. He's got lots of heavy information for all of us. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing what he's got to say from the lens that he can bring. We then have Brooke, and Brooke is coming from Raincoast. And fun facts about Brooke is that she's the marketing director at Raincoast, but she has been the lead on the multinational campaigns for Harry Potter, Court of Thorn and Roses, and The Fourth Wing. So her experience is something that I'm just going to be lapping up. And then lastly, we have Jennifer Kroll. She is the editorial director at Greystone Books, which is a large size indie publisher. And she's been in the industry for so long. She's one of the most qualified people to talk about the different facets of publishing, and also what are those mid to small, what are they seeing in mid-size and possibly small size publishing, and what does that look like for the market today. So that is our publishing trends panel. That will be the lead off for the day on June 6th. Then we roll right into the books to bestseller panel. And we are talking with people. The whole goal of that panel is we wanted to assemble panelists who could speak to the machinery of moving units. So, like, what does it take? We know what it takes to, or many of us know what it takes to produce a book. But once that book is produced, what kind of numbers get on the Globe and Mail bestseller lists? What books never make it on the bestseller list yet still do really high volume? What type of book does high volume, and how are they making those guesses, and how are they making sure to produce books that can move units? So first we have Allie, and Allie is the trade sales rep for Scholastic. So for those of you who have children's books and anything that like is under the Scholastic brand, she will be in the room, obviously. And one of my favorite things about talking to Allie has been talking about how that the nuance of book selling and knowing where to place books in what bookstores and what bookstores to have allegiance to and alliances with. She's like, the information on ChatGPT and Google will never compare to what you're going to get in real life and the relationships that you have to help move units. So I obviously enjoy hearing anything that's a little stick it to Google. Google has all of your answers. The next we have Jamie from Raincoast. He's the vice president of marketing at Raincoast. And full transparency, he's a little hard to access, but we got him, and he's got a lot to say and a lot to offer. So a bunch of emails later, he's coming. So great. And then we've got Kim. She is the publisher and CEO at 910 Publications. And on a personal note, to know Kim is to love her. She is the publisher of a really niche market publishing house. And despite how niche it is, I don't know if despite's the right word, but it is very niche, and she still is landing titles on the Globe and Mail bestseller lists. So, and her books sell really, really well. So she has a little bit of secret sauce to her approach that she'll be talking about on the day, and how books can become bestsellers. And then my last little behind the scenes insight about who will be in the room and why we chose them for our author panel, Sales and Success. We wanted to have this panel be something that talks about when something hits. Is it what you think it's going to be? Is becoming an author, having success by public's perception, is it what you think it's going to be once it happens? And does it sell books? So for example, and these are I just love the stories so much. For example, Wiley. Wiley last year was the host of one of our panels at the conference last year. And she sent us an email in January, and I've put this story in our newsletter as well. But in January, she wrote and she said, there was something about the conference last year. I've been very nervous and thinking about never sharing my manuscript. And there was something about the conference last year that gave me just a spark of maybe it could happen for me too. And within a week of the conference, she messaged one of the publishers that we had on the Publishing Trends panel from Douglas and McIntyre. And within 2 days of sending that email, she had a publishing deal. And this year, she will be at the conference as a panelist talking about what her year has been like. And did her life change? What has the success look like? Because, in a unicorn or Cinderella story for publishing, she not only got a publishing deal within 2 days of querying, but she also has had that book go to market. So she's getting press all over the country right now for her title. And I'm so excited to hear what does this like feel like now that it's happened? I imagine it's incredible, but is it actually what she thought it was going to be? And is the experience exceeding, the same as what she dreamed of? Is it disappointing in any ways? And that's what I want to hear, kind of a year-to-year story. Then we have Eddie. Eddie was on a panel last year he was talking about his book. He's published with many sort of small presses, mid-sized presses, and big presses. And the interesting part and why we've asked Eddie to come back is since last year's panel, his book was shortlisted for the Giller Prize. So what I really want to hear from Eddie is, year to year, has his life changed at all as an author? What happens when you get shortlisted for a Giller? Do sales explode? Do the pressures as an author change for your next title? What is being demanded of you now? Are you nervous about your advances? Those are the kinds of conversations I want to have with, or we want to have with Eddie. I'm not having those conversations. There's also panel leads. So I don't want to say that I'm having this conversation with everybody. Those are the questions that I want to have answered. And then lastly, we've got Kayla. She, a year ago was, she had already published her book, and she was admittedly feeling a little like things were stagnant and not moving. And then she checked her email and found out that Oprah had picked it up was going to make the holiday gift guide. It was going to make the list of Oprah's favorite things of 2025. And the conversation with Kayla is going to be around, when you have the Oprah Godmother endorsement, what changes and what are those sales numbers like? Because so often we assume that, you get touched by a Giller, like a major publisher, or like Oprah, and we assume that now all of a sudden you've sold 1 million copies and your work here is done. And the conversation I want to have, I want Kayla to be having with our group is like, what does it change? And what does sales look like? And what does success look like? And are they different or are they the same? So those are the 3 panels. I'm glad to have debriefed these today. Goes a little bit behind the scenes action on all of it and our intention for why we have chosen these people. I hope that if you were in Vancouver on June 6th, or you were looking to find your way to the best coast, we hope that we find you in the room on June 6th. We have lots more to share in the coming weeks, but tickets are going quickly, and I would love nothing more than to be able to share the knowledge of everybody in the room with you as well. I will talk to you soon.